Well, welcome to the Stained Glass Studio. So this is a section about soldering your charms. Just wanted to let you know about a few things that I use that might help you in making your charms. So first of all, I have this vise, and you have to have kind of a ledge here to put it on. There's an extra piece of wood on here, so this would fit on here because you just need this little lip. So this particular vise is from a hardware store, but you can also find some specifically for jewelry at hobby stores and places where they sell jewelry things. So I also use, and I believe this is called a hemostat, and it's a medical tool, but it holds really small things. And so it helps me to hold the charm in place. And then it'll lock so that I can move it around. And this is just very helpful for that. Also, make sure you use lead-free or silver solder on your charms because they will be touching your skin, and so we want to be safe there. Also, if you want some extra heat, if the regular soldering iron isn't getting hot enough for you, then there is this Heiko. It's called FX601, and it is a temperature control on the device itself. So that might help you too.
Now we don't find that we need those in our studio, but you might find that extra heat is important.
Yeah, and sometimes you might even need to turn your heat down because then sometimes I have found on the charm, if it gets too hot, it'll bubble up on and not get a smooth, nice, pretty line on your charms. So you just kind of have to play around with that.
Okay, before Jeannie shows you how to solder, and she's really quite good at it, I wanted to show you the differences between soldering irons. Now this is the one we're going to be using today on the charms. Here's one. You'll see that it's got a real tiny point. I think this is about an 80-watt iron. You could get by with this iron. It would work, but it would not be the best. This is the kind you get from a craft store, from a hobby store, or in one of those kits that they sometimes sell. Now, this is the Weller 100. It's a 100-watt iron. It's really rugged. It'll last a long time. It has temperature control circuitry in the iron itself, and so it will always be the right temperature. The thing I don't like about this iron, even though it's got a really it's nice and heavy, and it turns itself on and off, the thing I don't care for is that if it goes bad, then you're out $80. You got to replace the whole thing. This is the iron we now sell in our studio. It's a little bit blackened from use, but what we do, this is an inland iron. It's a 100-watt iron as well. We're trying it out. We've gone through literally hundreds of these type, and you'll see that the tips are almost the same. They're both 100-watt irons. This one just seems like it may be a little more rugged. Both of these irons require an additional piece of equipment. You need to have a rheostat so that you can raise and lower the temperature. Although most of the time we run them at the full temperature. So those are the four different irons that we have to show, and I think this is a very good, solid, reliable iron. And so, Jeannie, do you want to show them how it's done?
Okay, it is very important when making charms to have a clean tip. Now, if you have a bunch of gunk on your tip, then it's a good idea to put it through the Solomonic block first. The way that I like to do that is to make sure that there's solder on the tip. And then you just roll it on the block.
Oof, that's dramatic.
Okay.
All right.
Should do it. Now, while you're working, you're going to sometimes get little pieces of ash. If you get little pieces of ash on your charm, then that will make little black specks, and that isn't pretty. So every once in a while, you're going to want to put a little bit of water, just kind of clean your tip, and that'll take care of that. Okay, first things first, I'm going to put a little bit of flux all the way around. Now the reason I say a little bit is because it can get under the flux and then it will get onto your picture, and that'll make just a little bubble inside there, so you don't want that. So just be careful by only getting the outside.
If you put a lot of flux on there, are you saying it would get under the foil?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Now I am using a lead-free solder. The reason is because this is going to be up against someone's skin, and so you don't want to use lead if it's going to be up against skin. So this is a lead-free. Okay, first of all, I'm just going to go all the way around, and I'm just going to drag it. So I'm not putting very much solder. I'm going to do that on both sides. You can use the tip of your solder to kind of hold on to it, and I do that, and that helps a lot. Those little tricks you learn along the way. Okay, once I have that all the way around, I use a vise. And this is so helpful because it's going to hold my charm so it's not going to go anywhere. Now, I've seen lots of different things where people could just put the charm in some pliers or a little clamp and just kind of set it down and work that way. So you don't have to have a vise, but wow, if your husband has one back in the garage, then go get it. Okay, making sure I have a clean tip again. Okay, now, don't be discouraged if right away you don't get a clean line. This takes practice. Give yourself time to learn how to do it. Don't be discouraged. Okay, now I'm touching the iron, the solder, and the glass all at the same time. I don't want to drop it on because it'll either fall off or it'll just ball up. So I'm just adding a little bit at a time, going back and make it nice and smooth. Okay, I'm not going to do anything for a second or two because I want it to set up. You can actually, if you look carefully, you can watch it just kind of get hard there. And sometimes then you'll have little bumps. You could go back and fix that. But this is okay. I'm happy with that. So I'm going to hold on to it with pliers because that little piece of glass can get hot. Okay, I'm going to make sure that there's enough flux. Flux is your friend. It will really make it flow nicely. And you can tell if you don't have flux on it because it'll just make little blobs and you say, what am I doing wrong? You put a little bit of flux and it'll just smoothly melt on there.
What if you forget to put flux on? Will it still work if you put some on later?
Yes, you can always add it later. Now, the reason I kind of messed with that one a little bit more is because I did have some of those black flecks and I wanted to get rid of them. So I just kind of worked with it a little bit. Now be careful with that though, because if your iron is too hot and you mess with it too long, you could actually burn through the solder. And if that happens, you have a hole there. But not to fear. There's still a way to fix it. Because I did this the other day, there was a hole, and so I just got a little teeny piece of copper foil, but first of all, make sure that you wipe it off. If there's any oil or any flux on there, then the foil will not stick. But if you clean that off real good, then you can put another piece of foil on, covering your hole, and then go back. And that'll work, and no one will ever know.
And we've had people who were students or even people who called us asking how you take care of it when you burn through the foil. So apparently it happens more often than it does here. It's just pretty rare for us to.
Okay, I have all 4 sides, so I'm going to see which side is up. This side is up for me. So I'm going to put him back into the vise. And I want a little ring, and the ring is just to hold it. So you can hang it onto your necklace, onto your bracelet, to your keychain. Okay.
Your Christmas ornament hanger?
Yes, that too. Okay, I have found that these are just the perfect little tool. They're just little surgical scissors. And the reason that I like them is because they're clamped and they hold it in place. Now there's where the opening is on the ring. I want that to go down because I want that to be covered into the solder. Okay, add just a wee bit more flux. Okay, I'm going to heat this up, and then this is so cool. You will love this when you try it. When you put this on here, kind of eyeball it so it's in the middle, I'm going to heat it up. You will actually feel it sink right into the solder, and it is way cool. But don't jump up and down then because you'll mess up everything. Okay, it's sunk in there. Awesome. So I'm going to hold on until I'm sure it's solidified. If it's not solidified, then you'll have a cold solder joint and it's not going to hold.
And that's pretty cool. Didn't we have a lady who is an expert at charms tell us that she likes to mark her charms where she puts the ring in because it's sometimes difficult to tell where the center is?
Oh, yeah, and I'm a little off.
No, I think you did good there.
Well, that's a good idea. Okay, so that's a finished charm. Now, I wanted to show you on a charm that I had made earlier that you can embellish these and do some really fun things. Now, what I would like to do is turn this upside down and put a little ring on the bottom side. Okay.
Cool.
Okay. It's not too hot, that's why I can touch it. Okay, so I've got a ring on the top and the bottom. The top can go onto the necklace. And the bottom, I just put together just a fun array of jewels and beads, and get creative. You can just put anything together, it's just fun. I have learned when you open these rings, don't try to open them out. Now this one is not so strong that I can't do it with my hands, but on some of the stronger ones I can't, and so I'll open it away from each other with a pair of pliers. Okay, so then when you close them back up, you close it back that way. And then you'll almost, I know you probably can't hear it, but I can because I'm close. I hear almost a click when I bring it together. You want it as close as possible. If you do it right, you will not even see the seam. That one's not bad. All right, but I'm going to open it up again so I can hang this on here. Oh, did you hear that? Okay, and there you go. And one thing, the last thing I'd like to show you is just get it clean, because you know it's going to be against your skin, so you want it to be clean. So that's the next thing I'll show you.